This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Oh, hello there. Very nice to meet you.
Well, let's get back to it.
God, if only Titchy suit size was trapped in a Whitehall bubble, we could flick him off into space like a beach ball filled with helium. Wouldn't that be marvellous? Here's a story. Man 52 who suffered constant headaches is found to have a live worm in his brain that had laid eggs under his skull after catching a parasite from undercooked bacon. Doctors found tapeworm eggs in a man's brain after he complained of migraines. Would you like to hear more about this story?
No.
I'll take that as a no.
Yes.
Texts and tweets and such from... I'll put that on the floor just so I don't accidentally pick it up and start reading it again. And texts. These are texts and tweets and such from last night. Just seen that the UK is the second most miserable place in the world on the LBC website. I wonder why that is. Brackets, insert badly played national anthem here. Well, I don't have any such thing. I only have this. God, stirring stuff, isn't it? I'm standing proud as we speak. She's talking about the mental state of the world's 2023, which was released this year in March, which is the month that we're in right now, as a matter of fact fans. The Mental State of the World report is the annual report of the Global Mind Project and provides trends and insights on the mental well-being of internet-enabled populations around the globe. Hey, have you seen the internet?
Disgusting.
In 2023, they collected data from over... This is not a small survey. This is 500,000 respondents. Blimey. In 13 languages across 71 countries that span 9 regions. Key insights as follows. Mental well-being remained at its post-pandemic low. Younger generations, particularly those under the age of 35, saw the steepest declines in mental well-being during the thing, the C word, COVID. COVID, shh, don't mention it. I think I mentioned it once and got away with it. The COVID pandemic, while those over 65 stayed steady. Yeah, I can imagine it didn't really affect them one way or the other. Not very much. I mean, particularly if they've, had a nice garden, because it was marvellous that spring of 2020, you remember? Oh, it was perfect. And those under the age of 35, they're still keen to, get jiggy with it, to interfere with each other's clothing. Ugh, isn't that awful?
Dreadful.
But those over 65, forget about it. So, they're not impelled to go out and mingle. They don't care. They much prefer staying in and having a nap, which is perfect for lock-in. As in previous years, says this report, several African and Latin American countries top the country rankings, while wealthier countries of the core Anglosphere are toward the bottom. This pattern suggests that greater wealth and economic development do not necessarily lead to greater mental well-being. Correctamundo. Yeah, that's right. Greater wealth and economic development do not necessarily lead to greater mental well-being. Or, in other words, HAPPY-ness. It doesn't lead to happiness. This desperate search for money. But we're conditioned to believe that it does. You walk past adverts that will tell you that your life is not complete unless you, buy insert name of product here. And, of course, that makes you upset because you haven't got that product in your life. And you need it. But you don't. Because on your deathbed, you do not think, God, I wish I'd got a vacuum cleaner that costs £300 and comes in pink. Do you? You don't think, I wish I'd updated my phone more than once a year. No, you'll think, I wish there was more, I had more happiness in my life. I wish I'd done the things that I wanted to do, like, pause and smell the flowers, for instance. In 2023, data from the Global Mind Project identified key factors that explain these patterns, such as getting a smartphone at a young age, frequently eating ultra-processed food, and the fraying of friendships and family relationships that are typically more prevalent in internet-enabled populations of wealthier countries. That's right. Artificial intelligence, artificial friends, artificial pleasure.
Affirmative.
And you know which country is bottom of the table? Go on, have a guess. I double dare you. Begins with a U. Uzbekistan.
What?
Yeah, not us. Uzbekistan. We're not bottom. We're second from bottom of the Mental Well-Being Index, just above Uzbekistan, if indeed there is such a place. Germany, of course, is way up the list. France is even higher than Germany. Italy is so happy it wakes up laughing. In Italian. But we are worst in the table of places with people struggling or distressed. I'm not making it up. We're second bottom by a hair for countries with poor mental well-being, and the absolute worst on the list of places for people struggling. What on earth could be the reason for that?
This government...
I couldn't agree more. Yeah. What are we like? 0345 6060 973. On that subject, here's calling Crayford. Hello, Terry.
Oh, hello, Nick.
Terry.
How are you?
I'm great,
How
mate.
are you?
Stop fumbling with your phone, Terry.
I'm not.
You
Unfortunately,
are.
I have a tremor.
Oh, right. Carry on.
I'm sorry, love. You've stolen my thunder.
Sorry about that.
That's what I was going to ring up about.
I'll give it
about
back,
that recall.
slightly used and somewhat stained, if that's okay.
Yeah. But how about just being 1 point above Uzbekistan?
Yeah, Uzbekistan.
Wherever that is.
Wherever
eh?
that is, correct, yes. Nobody has any idea. Even people in Uzbekistan have no idea where they are. They couldn't pinpoint themselves on a map for money.
And how about the Dominican Republic being the top?
Right. Well, it's probably because they're less internet-enabled than we are. See, the internet is not bringing people happiness. Particularly social media is not bringing people happiness. You want to get off TikTok, Terry?
I'm not on it. I am not on it.
Right. Well, good for you. All right. Cheers, my dear. Thanks a lot. 0345 6060 973. Sue texts, I'm convinced it's all planned. They know the mess they have created and know they can't put it right. She's talking about the government, the regime. You know the regime? Yeah, that's them, yeah. So what better than blame an incoming government? They think we're thick, says Sue. Yes. With good reason. Because the people that are most discombobulated by the regime keep on voting for the regime over and over again. I mean, I could get if you're a hedge funder or you're a bazillionaire or you're an oligarch or something like that. I could understand if you vote Conservative because, they're your people. But if you're poor, I genuinely don't get it. On what measure do your interests and the interests of the millionaires who are doing the bidding of the billionaires in the Conservative Party, at what point do your interests intersect, I wonder? Simon says, I can't believe they're talking about making another Top Gun. I only recently saw Top Gun Maverick the other week, and the whole time watching it, I was thinking about your comments that it's like America has thrown up all over you. I did say that, didn't I? Yeah, that's what that film is like. It's like America has thrown up all over you. And you're right, says Simon, it was terrible. No, I never said it was terrible. I thought it was great. I mean, it is like America's thrown up all over you. You have to get past all that, America, all that stuff. And all that, woo, all that. But, just tremendously exciting. And it did look like they were flying those planes, didn't it? That's the thing with Tom Cruise. You can be pretty sure that he and the other people, well, not necessarily the other people, because I would imagine that if I was not getting the big money, like Tom Cruise probably gets $100 million per film, but everybody else on the list doesn't. So I would think that if I wasn't getting that kind of money, then I probably wouldn't get on a bike and throw myself off a cliff. You know, for a $5. If I was being paid $100 million, I would give it serious consideration. But that's the difference with doing it real and doing it AI. I mean, at the moment, you can tell the difference. Perhaps in the future, you won't be able to tell the difference. And all that green screen stuff will appear real. But now, in this moment, it doesn't. And when somebody actually does, spoiler alert, warning, actually does get on a motorbike and drive off a cliff for real, you can tell. And I feel I'm getting my money's worth. So anyway, he said, you're right, it was terrible. I never said that Top Gun Maverick was terrible. In fact, I've seen it at least twice, maybe 3 times now. Because I'm always in want of something where there's stuff blows up on screen. I want action adventure. I don't want anything in a foreign language.
Boring.
I don't want people talking about their feelings for 3 hours. I want car chases and gunfights. And this the Top Gun fits right in. That's why I appreciate the work of Tom Cruise, because he does that better than anybody. He does it for an adult audience, whereas everybody else that's making films with car chases and explosions, they're doing it aboard a robot that changes shape. It's children's stuff. Anyway, he says it was terrible. I never said that. It was too much, he said. Though the last scene where he steals the F-14 from the Russians was funny, it sort of saved it. Well, don't tell us. Estelle texts, it's like the education sector is trying to be in with the school cool kids. It's the sort of thing that you would say at school. Yeah, Gillian Keegan. She is the gift that keeps on giving, yes?
No.
No. I have detailed files. I got so much to talk about. It's making my brain spin just thinking about it. But I'll have to go away in order to come back.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
What's he got to be depressed about?
Oh, blimey, where do I even begin? 0345 6060 973. Heston, Isaac.
Good evening, Nick. How
yes,
are
sir.
you?
Great, mate.
Two things.
Couple of
First,
3 things, yeah.
Just 2 things. Number one, I suppose what's a bit depressing here in the advanced and developed Western world with its, the 6th richest economy, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Here in the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. What's slightly depressing here in the UK and the world beyond is that most of us, if not all of us, are not going to live long enough to see iPhone 100. Okay. Right.
Right. What number are they on at the moment?
15.
15. Right. I have avoided getting any of them.
Okay. Right. Well,
I have a big problem with Apple. Huge.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, as an Apple fanboy myself, I'm speaking to you on an Apple 15. So
wow, I can barely understand 15. A word you're saying.
Okay. And number 2, right? Number 2, I saw somewhere online.
Yeah.
Kenny Badenoch. Okay. Right.
Not Kenny Burke. Because that was Rising to the Top, one of the greatest soul songs ever sung.
Yeah,
you're not talking about Kenny Burke, you're talking about Kemi Bad Enoch, yes.
That's right, yeah. I remember Kenny Burke very well, because I'm an Asian British soul boy, now retired,
Retired? Do you ever retire from liking soul? I don't think so.
No, but I mean, I'm retired from clubbing and dancing.
That, yeah, doing the disco dancing. Yeah, you'll put your back out, Isaac.
That's right. Yeah, I was 64 the same day as Carol McGiffin. Anyway,
right.
Back to Kenny. Miss Badenoch. Okay, Mrs. Badenoch. Sorry.
Just bad enough to be a part of this regime. Yeah.
she put out a document about this Brexit dividend. Now, what I'd like my fellow listeners here in the UK and across the world to sort of help me out with, right, is what is this Brexit dividend?
Well, she wittered on and on and on and on about it, and I do have detailed files.
You do? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
well,
of course I do.
Help me out, then. What is this Brexit dividend?
Leave it with me, and I'll go through it point by point. How's that sound?
That sounds good to me.
Another
right.
satisfied customer. All right, thanks a lot, Isaac. 0345 6060 973. A couple of days ago, Kemi Bad Enoch debunked myths, in inverted commas, myths, that Brexit has damaged Britain's economic growth. Okay, before I go on, would you like to go ahead and disbelieve everything that she says?
Yes.
In order to save time later? The business secretary insisted that the UK had succeeded on the world stage by, quotes, embracing free trade. And we have embraced free trade by putting trade barriers between us and our biggest trading partner, because, you know, that makes sense. Her comments came as the debate continues to rage over the effects of Britain leaving the European Union 4 years ago, says the Mail. There is no debate. It's been bad. End of discussion. The Office for Budget Responsibility said it expected a 15% fall in trade and a 4% drop in potential productivity, compared with if voters had chosen to remain at the 2016 referendum. But we didn't choose to remain by a hair's breadth. We chose to leave because of this bloke.
I'm a nutcase.
He's a nutcase. And what the truth twisters conveniently forget, they say, well, people said it would be bad, but look, we're all still alive, so that proves the naysayers wrong. It doesn't. They imagine some catastrophe that nobody predicted and say that we've done better than that. They'll say, remoters said that every job would be lost in the City of London. But look, those offices are still occupied. Well, no one said that every job would be lost. That's just wild exaggeration in order to make a dismal result look better. Leave supporter Bad Enoch insisted that the country was thriving since exiting. Really? Thriving, you say? Who is thriving exactly? I want the names of the people who are thriving. Are you thriving, dear listener? Do you know anyone who is thriving? She said, we are repeatedly told that without the clout of the European bloc, we would not open up trade with markets of the future. And three myths have arisen which are regularly repeated on growth, exports and investment, she said. The first is that Brexit has hampered our growth relative to comparable economies. That is not the case, she said. It is the case. Is she really the business minister? Is this one of those Tory jokes like appointing Gavin Williamson as the defence secretary? Or making Liz the Blundertrust Prime Minister?
Absolutely.
I mean, just look at the numbers. These are the numbers from the government's House of Commons library. In the last quarter of last year, GDP fell by 0.3% compared with the previous quarter. The second successive quarterly fall in GDP, following a 0.1% decline the previous quarter, meaning we're in session. In the Eurozone, meanwhile, GDP was unchanged in quarter four. But it looks even worse when you take year-on-year figures, and we are beaten by EU countries every single quarter in 2023 versus the previous year. If you look at GDP growth, the regime's always banging on about growth. Well, in quarter four of last year, the UK was 1% above its pre-pandemic level of 2029.
Oh, fabulous.
1%. This compares to the Eurozone being 3% higher. The US, 8.2% higher. She said the International Monetary Fund predicts that the UK will outgrow France and Germany and Italy and Japan between now and 2028. That would be great if it weren't for the fact that we have trailed behind those countries since Brexit. So if we're lucky, we might catch up 12 years after Brexit happened in 2028. Is that what they promised us to get us to vote leave? No. They didn't. They said something about footwear.
We'd have cheaper food, clothing and footwear straight away by getting rid of the protectionist anti-trade tariffs that the EU imposes. And it would be very good for the British people, and it would provide certainty. And I think once there's certainty, the country will begin to reunite.
He lied. And apart from anything else, I mean, since when did the Tories cite the International Monetary Fund as the predictor of future economic health? Because that's what Kemi Badenoch did. That's what that dud Kemi Badenoch did. I mean, the actual government just days ago slapped down the very same International Monetary Fund for saying that Jeremy Hunt should not give out tax cuts as part of his budget, and that spending cuts that he suggested were unrealistic. Rubbish, said the Tories, who now point to that same organisation as the fountain of all economic knowledge when it predicted that we would outgrow the EU economies in the next 4 years. Except they didn't even say that. The IMF said we would have the second worst growth in the G7, with only Germany doing worse. And before you put out the bunting that Germany might do worse, it's far cheaper to live in Germany. Wages are higher, the cost of living is lower, and all the wealth of the nation is spread about, not concentrated in a tiny enclave of the capital city as it is in Britain. It's like saying that our British dinghy can go faster than a German cruise liner. Well, maybe it can, but which boat would you be more comfortable in? Badenoch also said, the second myth is that exports have declined. She said, the value of UK goods sold overseas has increased from 576 billion in 2016 to 624 billion in 2020, and more than 850 billion today, despite the impact of COVID and the war in Ukraine, which would be great if it were an accurate reflection of where we are. As though going through 8 years of decline hasn't had an effect, and as though there hasn't been any inflation to speak of. I mean, this was published a year ago by the European Central Bank. 2.5 years after the UK's exit from the EU, there is an increasing amount of evidence that Brexit has had negative effects on UK trade and the UK labour market. On the trade side, after controlling for pandemic-related effects, Brexit appears to have caused a significant decline in EU-UK trade in both directions. It also said that many small and medium-sized companies had just stopped trading with the EU because of the barriers that we put up. The government's own Office for National Statistics said just last month that the value of goods imports fell by 2.6 billion in December, and the deficit in trade for goods and services widened by 6.2 billion in the last quarter of last year, meaning we buy much more than we sell, and it's getting worse. And the business minister, Kemi Badenoch, said the third claim was that after Brexit, investment would dry up. She said, however, last year, our car sector alone attracted 23.7 billion in investment commitments, more than the past 7 years combined. Commitments, not actual investment, just somebody saying that they might in future if the winds are going in the right direction. And, by the way, much of it was bought by chucking multi-billion-pound sweeteners at the foreign car companies that are still here. I mean, it's not exactly a bonus if you promise to give a company £75 million to stay, as we did with BMW, or £500 million, which we threw at Jaguar Land Rover. And finally, Badenoch said that the UK had negotiated more free trade agreements than any other independent country in the world in recent years. Well, think about that for a second. That's because all the major economies are in trade blocs. They don't need to run around like headless chickens trying to get anyone to sign up for something that will get the government a nice headline in their favourite papers. I mean, she signed deals with Australia and New Zealand that are so bad for us that they were actually laughing at us on the news. How's those trade negotiations with America going, by the way?
Oh, fabulous.
Yeah, same as India, I suppose. Still, Kemi signed us up for free trade with Tuvalu. So that's something, isn't it?
No.
Nick Abbot on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Listen to him. He knows everything.
Keith texts. Now, this is in relation to the Thwaites Glacier, which is called the Doomsday Glacier.
Oh, no.
Because if it melts, then sea level rises around the world 10 feet. The sea level rises around the world 10 feet. Which means that any city or town that is near water will get flooded, which is a problem because all cities and towns are near water. That's why they're there, is because of the water. So it's called the Doomsday Glacier for a good reason. It's because the life that we know and occasionally enjoy will be over if that thing melts. And so there's this scientist who's got this wizard idea of putting like a towel over it or a curtain or something like that in order to keep the warm water away from tipping it over into this sort of this swirling eddy of despair, and it will cost $50 billion, 50 not million, billion for a curtain. You believe that? And he thinks that the countries that have signed up for the Antarctic Treaty, which is basically all the countries in Europe plus America and China and Russia and all of the places that you could confidently point to on a map, he thinks that they will come up with $50 billion to save the world. To which I would say, yeah, he don't know us very well, do he? We ain't going to do no such thing. Politicians will not spend any money in order to prevent something from happening in the future because they can't point to it. They can't say, there, look, I've done that. So the human race is doomed because of short-termism. But anyway, Keith says that $50 billion to save the entire world from an iceberg, it's around the same cost as the test and trace phone app that didn't even work. That is true, yeah. And on that subject, AJ says floating icebergs to Saudi has been seriously postulated. Feasibility studies are being undertaken by Gulf states. Weird but true. They're going to drag an iceberg to Saudi Arabia. Won't it melt by the time it gets there? It's 50 degrees down there. 0345 6060 973. Camden. Hello, Katie.
It's not Katie, it's Molly.
Can I call you Katie?
If you like.
Yes, Katie.
Wouldn't be called anything. I'm not talking about...
Ooh. Did you get that? I mean, I agree. But you can't say that on the radio. She's a what now? Very, very bad word.
Disgusting.
Yeah, you can't say that. Whatever your name is. Are we all in agreement?
Yes.
Yeah, we are, yeah. Oh, we're on the air. Relax. Becca texts, I am too relaxed. Becca says, isn't the UK the second worst place to live in the world? No, Becca. We're just the most miserable people, that's all. Yeah, with good reason.
This government...
Exactly. Di says, if square one means 1066, then that would fix 90% of what ails us. Rents and mortgages would go way down for a start. Well, that is just a fact, yeah. You could probably get a two-room cave for three groats a month. And you chuckle your sewage out the front. Malcolm says, serious point, the reason George Galloway wears a hat is because his head is badly scarred due to being badly assaulted some years ago. Well, yes, I tested that theory by appearing at him on my television as he was entering the House of Commons. And I could see no scar, no evidence of a scar, because you've got to take your hat off inside. I mean, even though he doesn't take his hat off inside, you're supposed to, right? It's just good manners.
Be polite!
But he had to take it off going into the hallowed halls. And I couldn't see any scar. Maybe he was just facing in the wrong direction. Maybe it was on the dark side of his moon. But I couldn't see any. I think he just thinks it makes him look rakish. And as compared to him without a hat, where he just looks like another dull, white, middle-aged, bald bloke, it does make him look rakish. It's his thing, isn't it? You know, like Bodger Johnson's got his hair. Paw! And Trump's got whatever it is that floats above his head.
Don't be rude.
Wannabe dictators, they seem to have a hair thing, don't they? And because George Galloway does not have any hair, at least as far as I could tell, then I think that's the reason he wears a hat, because he looks better in a hat, and that is undeniable. I think it's just his thing. It's like his logo. And Kath texts very helpfully, maybe we could use a Jewish space laser to make a big drainage hole in the iceberg. Well, that is a good idea, Kath. I'll pass that on to experts. Going to look into that for you. Excellent work, by the way, Emily Maitlis. Getting told to,
Disgusting.
by Marjorie Taylor Greene, that from, Trump's camp, the dingaling from Trump's camp. Those people. 0345 6060 973. Harrow, Jonathan. Harrow.
Good evening, Nick.
Yes, sir.
Well, I say good evening, but it's not a good evening, and it's not a good month, or not a good year.
Oh, really? I'm disappointed to hear that. Please, do tell.
Because I'm shocked. I am shocked at the state of this country.
Oh, shocked. Is that what you said? Right.
Yeah, I really am. Because, when Rishi, I call him Maharishi, because in Hindi that means the king, yeah?
Okay.
When Rishi became the Prime Minister, unelected, I was in the Kolkata in West Bengal. Mm-hmm. And I thought, this is very progressive like that. What are you calling her? Kemi Bad's Enoch, like the Enoch Powell. You're doing the joke, isn't it?
Yeah. Funny,
okay. It's okay. But the point is, since he became the Prime Minister,
yes.
I've been to London quite a few times. And I've stayed in... Yeah, and I stayed in nice hotel. Well, I have to be careful. I have to be sensitive how I say this. I was going to say I'm having serious financial problems.
Oh, really?
And then I was going to say something about how lovely the food is at the Gordon Ramsay restaurant in Harrods. But maybe that's why I'm having bad financial problems.
Yeah, it's because you're spending £300 on lunch, you aegis.
No, that was a while ago.
Where have
my
you gone?
point is
there you are. Yes.
My point is this, the London, as many times as I've been after Rishi Sunak became Prime Minister, each time you go, even though most of the country, I have to travel around for legal matters and things.
Yeah, you're on the run. Yes.
No, I'm not. No, but I'm in some legal difficulty with debt and debts and credit cards.
Right,
and
yeah. Gordon Ramsay don't take no for an answer.
Hello?
Yes?
But so when you go to the London and go to the Mayfair, even places like the Goodge Street, you probably go to these areas like for your LBC Christmas lunch. Do you do that evening?
Not Goodge Street. No, I would avoid Goodge Street like the plague.
On Goodge Street, there was, even the last time I was there was 2 Rolls Royces with the private drivers. And this makes me think of you, because you have said that the top 1% are getting all of the chocolates and chips and money.
Yes. That's right. Damn it.
Because I went, the last time I was in the London, in the Westminster, in the St. James's Park and all of this, you don't see no police anywhere in this country, but where the rich people are, where the elite are, there's no end of police. I counted, I'm not a creepy, but I was taking pictures of people's cars, and I counted 6 Bentleys in one day.
Right. 6, what, in one place or just everywhere?
No, just sort of maybe in a 450 mile radius of the London, like a small place of London, just between 2 tube stations. But I had a couple more quick points to make, if I can. Because I've been washing the television with... Wait a
minute. You've been washing the television. Is that wise?
No. WATCHHING, viewing.
Yeah, watching, right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And this Boris documentary on Channel 4, because I'm so sorry, Nick, I fall to my knees to apologize, because there's so much economic problem in this country.
Yeah.
And if you view the Boris documentary, it is like a gallery of the damned. Have you seen it or not?
Which documentary?
They have one on Channel 4 about Boris, the problem with the man who ruined Britain. It's like 4 episodes.
Oh, you're talking about Bodger Johnson?
Yeah. Wait a minute.
No, I have not. I do not want to be dipped in the misery of that man. Now he's briefly gone from our lives, although I'm sure like a bad smell, he will come back again.
And they have sit-down interviews with everyone from the Jacob Rees-Mogg to the Matt Hancock, to the Nadeem Doris, to the Gavin Williamson, to the Andrea Letson.
Like,
it's like
a Hammer House of Horrors.
Gallery of the Damned. And I just now think that I'm doing so badly now that I'll actually genuinely feel badly for the people on the street. Can I say this, that there was last Thursday, there was 8, what's the PC term for tramps?
Tramps?
Yeah.
Yes.
There was eight of them, and one was doing the heavy urination onto the sleeping bag of another, and they start the fighting. And like everywhere apart from that rich part of London, this country has completely fallen apart, rubbish. There's someone, either a fox or a dog. I'll bring a fat man to clean my front lawn, and he's saying it's a fox, but I think it's the dog. They do heavy toilet on the street, and the council don't do nothing.
Wow.
And I'm just thinking, can I say, I've reached a stage in my life where I think I could have been barrister. When I was walking past Westminster, I thought I could have been barrister, MP, I could have been like the Dev Patel or the Leonardo DiCaprio. But, Nick, for me in this country, no, listen to me. I'm saying this.
I am listening to you.
This is not a way of living, Nick. This is this country and me. This is not a way to live. It's existing, not living. I just go from heavy constipation to heavy diarrhea and budget shopping, and I'm so sorry I was seduced. I'm not homosexual, but I was seduced by Boris and the Brexit, and this country is just finished. But I don't want to bring the mood down.
Right. Well, it's a good job you didn't then. It was both educational and somewhat alarming to hear from you, Jonathan, as usual. Thanks for that. Whatever that was. Sorry to hear about that you're both constipated and you have diarrhea at the same time. It's a medical first.
Leading Britain's conversation. Nick Abbott. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Please hold the line. I'm trying to connect you.
Yes, I will connect you in one moment, caller. Lorraine texts, we were talking about trains yesterday. This is the third last message from last night, then I'll get on to today's. How many have I got so far from today? Oh, my God, I'll never get through those. Lorraine said, anytime return Leicester to London St Pancras, £202.50. She says, I had to give up my job in London. The current season ticket is £12,752 per annum.
What?
That is with a Zones 1 to 4 Underground ticket included, or a mere £11,696 without the Underground part. It's a journey of 1 hour, 4 minutes. Wow. £12,752 per annum for a season ticket from Leicester to London. And just as a science experiment, I looked up how much it costs to take the train in Germany during that break. And as far as I can see, a cheap ticket within Germany, £19, not even pounds, euros, €19.90. Or first class, £29.90. But worse than that, a train from Berlin or any other German city to London, €59, or €109 in first class. Or you could spend twice that to go on some dismal train that will probably be cancelled for your convenience from Leicester to London. Or £12,752 per annum for a season ticket between one and the other. Are you beginning to feel like you've been ripped off yet?
Yes.
Good grief. I mean, it's just staggering. Absolutely everything in this country costs way more than it should do, way more than it does in all of our competing countries. And they get paid more than we do, and their governments provide for them when they get when they have times of need more than ours do. That's the reason why we're so blooming unhappy in this country, as evidenced by that mental health report. It's all about the HAPPyness, kids. And we ain't got none. And finally, it's a couple more from last night. Sam says, I'm 42 and generally unfit. However, I'm being bombarded by adverts on social media for joining the military. Have they mixed up my targeted advertising, or do we need to? Do we all need to be worried? Yeah, I think we should start freaking out now to save time later. And finally, from last night, Angela Rayner and Rachel Reeves have both said a number of times that their plan is to go after those people who took our money fraudulently, and they will be hounded for the money they took, says Nadia. And if you believe that, Nadia, then I have a genuine made-in-China Rolex watch I'd like to sell you. Going fast. I'll believe it when I see it, but I just don't believe they'll do it. It'll be, it's all too difficult, and let's let bygones be bygones, and we don't want to rake over that old stuff, and it's the politics of envy and blah, blah, blah. They've all got away with it. You know they have. Bister. Hello, Phil.
Hiya.
Yes, Phil.
Hello. Yeah, just a quick one.
Yes.
You came out with a story about care for the people in the funeral parlour.
What?
Yeah. The care for the dead in the funeral parlour.
I have not mentioned funeral parlours on this show. I would have remembered it if I had.
No, care for the deceased.
No, not on this show.
Yes, you did.
Which station? I'm pretty sure I didn't. Which station are you listening to, Phil?
You. Anyway, look. What I wanted to say.
Yeah.
No.
Very aggressive.
What I wanted to say was, isn't it a bit late for care?
Well, yes, and that would fit right in if we were actually talking about that, but I have not mentioned it in any way, shape or form on this or, as far as I'm aware, any other show I've ever done on any station I've worked at. But apart from that, that's a good point, Phil. I'm glad you brought that to our attention. Thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. Am I hallucinating or is this real life? Let's have New York. Lucy.
Hi, Nick. How's it going?
It's going great, mate. What kind of a phone are you talking to us on, Lucy? Is it a mobile phone or are you wired?
Oh, no, it's a mobile phone.
Can you believe that? People, you're talking to me from 3,000 miles away and you're coming in clearer than the bloke that I was just speaking to from just up the road.
Well, I can't do anything about that.
No,
That's technology for you.
Yeah.
But I love the show. I listen all the time. I usually listen on catch-up, but today I'm live.
Right. Well, what time is it there? It's like...
So it's 5:54.
In the afternoon?
Evening.
Yeah.
Yeah, early evening.
Right.
Yeah. So here's a thing I wanted to talk to you about.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday, you had one of your regular callers, Simon, and I love his comments, and he was talking about Trump and how he thought that Trump would not win the next election. And I wanted to give him a little bit of reassurance because I live in New York City, which is a blue state.
Yeah.
But at the weekends, I go out to Long Island, which is a very red state. And so far...
Is it Long Island?
Yeah.
I thought that's where the rich people went when New York got too smelly.
Hamptons.
Oh, that's the Hamptons.
Yeah,
right.
Well, that's the Hamptons. That's a little further east. Most New Yorkers go out there at the weekend, but before you get there, you've got Nassau County and Suffolk County. The Hamptons is actually in Suffolk County, but anyway, long story short is in 2016 and again in 2020, there were thousands and thousands of signs, Trump signs. They were on cars, they were on houses, on apartments. And I just wanted to reassure Simon that so far this year, and I go out every weekend, I have only seen 2.
Now, do you think that it's because people feel somewhat embarrassed by a public show of support for the screaming Mimi, but when it comes down to it, they're going to vote for him anyway?
I think that's partly true. I think people won't admit it, that's for sure. But I still feel like the ones that are really bold last year, 3 years ago, they had the signs everywhere, and there were these trucks, these cars, and they had the flags hanging out the cars, and I haven't seen any of that this year. So that's that's a good sign.
Because on this side of the pond, we do get the feeling that that it's a done deal, that Trump is going to win, because the polling is up, and people in America are weirdly unsatisfied with how their economy is going, despite the fact that America is besting the rest of the world by a considerable margin.
Well, if you look at the polls, Obama was sort of not favoured to win even for his second term. He wasn't favoured to win.
Really?
And Hillary was favoured to win.
Hillary did get more votes.
Well, so did Obama.
Yeah, no, what I'm saying is that Hillary,
about the actual
number of votes, Hillary won by a big margin. It's just that you have this screwed up system in America called the what is it? The Electoral College. Yeah.
That is correct, yeah. So we'll see what happens. But I wanted to also mention one other quick thing to you about all the people that are talking about climate change. And I come home to London about 4 or 5 times a year, and I get the same flight every time. I leave at 8 o'clock in the morning, and it gets me there at 8 o'clock at night. And the last 2 times that I have flown, I've gotten in an hour early. And if you were listening about 2 weeks ago, they were saying that planes flying from New York to London were going at 800 miles an hour. Which is, instead of 600 or 550,
that's right.
600.
Is that safe?
And I've been getting in an hour earlier. So I just booked a flight to come home for Easter, and they told me now that the flight is leaving 9 o'clock instead of 8 o'clock because it's getting across the Atlantic too fast.
So it's the jet stream that's speeding up or something. Yeah. I mean, pretty soon, Lucy, you'll arrive before you've left.
Yes, that's very true. It's scary.
All right. Thanks for the update, mate. Cheers for that.
All righty.
Thanks, Lucy. All righty. Thank you for calling. Your call is important to us. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. And if you are on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Oh, hello. Yes, hello. I've been waiting for you. Hello.
Yes, let me say a happy hi hello to Nick in Vancouver. Nick.
Hi, Nick. I just, your conversation about train fares reminded me of the trip I took to England about 5 years ago, where it was actually cheaper for me to get the return from the west coast of Canada to Gatwick Airport, as I recall, than it was for me to catch a train to Worcester and back from Victoria Station.
Really? It cost more to travel from London to Worcester than it did from London to Canada?
Yeah, not by a vast amount. I think it was by about 30 quid or so. But when I was looking at my credit card bills at the end of it, I was...
Unbelievable. Hey, do we feel as though the privatization of the railways is a scam?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that feeling is seeping in.
What I don't understand is I can fly to Toronto from Vancouver, like if I get a special, for about 50 quid.
Yeah. How far?
Why does it cost so much on a train?
I have no idea.
Cheaper than an aeroplane.
Well, it's because the government has given out monopolies. That's why. Same with the water. It's the exact same thing. They'll give a monopoly to a company, and then then feign surprise that the fares go through the roof.
I I seriously don't get it. I really don't. Bring back the British Rail. It wasn't that bad.
Yeah,
Seriously.
well, it wasn't this
Rail.
bad. That's right. Yes.
It may have been fairly sort of low-grade trains, but at least you could afford to catch them.
That's right.
What's the point of having nice trains if you can't afford to get on them?
Yes, or they're cancelled always for your convenience, or they're...
Or you buy a ticket and you have to sit in the corridor because it's Friday afternoon. And no one ever worked out that more people leave on a Friday afternoon to get to Worcester.
All of the above, exactly. So it's almost as though they're trying to drive us into our cars so that we'll use more petrol.
My daughter would always ask me, and she still does, and she's in her 30s now, why do they have like a class system on the trains? What the hell is that about?
Well, so you can. So those with money don't have to sit with the oiks. Of course, those with a lot of money, they don't have to sit with anybody at all because they go by private helicopter.
Which is probably cheaper than the train.
Well, it's very cheap for Rishi Sunak because we, poor dopes who pay taxes, pay for it.
Well, enjoy it. I do miss train journeys because we don't really have them out here.
Well, it's because the distances are so vast. I mean, America is the same. People in America take a plane like we take the train or we drive a car, don't they? They take it like a cab, essentially.
Yeah. No, we'll catch a plane. I'll catch a plane to Calgary to go watch a hockey game and then fly back.
Yeah,
like the same day.
Right.
Just in the same way that I would catch a train to go watch West Ham back in the day.
Yeah, that's alien. That's alien to us. I mean, during COVID, it was interesting because you get these apps on your phone that can show you where every plane is in the sky. And in over Europe, there's barely a plane. But you look at America, and the entirety of the sky must have been blotted out. There were so many planes up there.
Yeah, it was very strange after 9/11 because up here in Vancouver, we got everything coming in from the Pacific for about 12 hours, hundreds of planes. It was like, it looked like sort of World War II, the Blitz up there. There were so many planes circling around Vancouver.
Yeah.
And then nothing for about 2 weeks afterwards. It was very, very disquieting to be driving around town and not hear and see aeroplanes
it's kind of nice
for that period of time.
Kind of nice for a while.
Yes, and you could tell the difference in the air quality. You really could.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And it was also strange because there's a bridge that runs across close to the airport, and you could look down on the airport, and there must have been 500-600 planes lined up everywhere. They were on the grass. They were in the car parks. They were moving planes all over the place. They had so many that they brought in from like every plane that was in the air. When the Americans said, that's it, no more planes come in here, came to us from Asia, basically. So it was vast amounts of planes parked everywhere.
Yeah.
It was weird.
Well, we've gone through some pretty weird times recently in our lives, and I think a bit of normality wouldn't go amiss, eh?
Well, I'm 62, and I'm beginning to think I'm not going to avoid the nuclear war that I grew up thinking I was going to die in when I was 15.
Well, I'm getting I'm getting a bit over reading that World War III is just around the corner by all these sensationalists who are desperately trying to get eyes on their columns in newspapers. I mean, you and I have been hearing that our entire lives. You know, World War III, and it's going to be a global thermonuclear war any moment now, and build a shelter and paint your windows white and duck and cover and all that nonsense. And it ain't happened yet, and I seriously doubt it's going to happen in the future.
Well, I shall put Frankie Goes to Hollywood 2 Tribes on just for the introduction. Don't panic.
2 tribes go to war. How does it go? No.
2 tribes go to war. I can't remember anymore.
No, I can't remember it either. No. Well, we'll have to relearn that straight away, Nick, because we might need it at a moment's notice. All right, thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. As apropos of what we were talking about last night, and please don't contact me about James Bond again. I have made my decision, and my decision is final. It's got to be that bloke from Start Up. But on that subject, Keith texts, by law, you cannot say anything negative about Cillian Murphy. Is it Cillian or... I'm going to say Cillian. That's what it looks like to me. Is it a soft C? He says, you can't say anything negative about Cillian Murphy until you've watched Peaky Blinders. He is the dog's Watsits and should be allowed to play any part he wants. but will always be Tommy Shelby to me, the best British drama that I can remember. I haven't seen it. But, I mean, the title itself put me off. Peaky Blinders. I mean, the reason it's called Peaky Blinders is because these gangsters in Newcastle put razor blades under their caps with which to blind their enemies. That's right, isn't it? I don't want to watch that. Why would you want to watch that? Plus, Cillian Murphy looks weird. That's just a fact. Can't be James Bond, and I'm not taking any more calls or texts on that subject. Andy says, the UK is the second most miserable country in the world. I demand a recount. We're number 2. Let's have Sandbatch. John.
The woman who was ringing about the train fares. I think that could get her to Tuvalu back about 4 or 5, 6 times.
If indeed there is such a place, yeah, Tuvalu.
Oh, there is such a place.
I very much doubt that.
I lived in Australia, and it is Tuvalu does exist.
Okay then.
Yeah, I think it's the Bounty Mutineers may have shipped out there as well, and I'm not sure, but that's about as much trade as we get out of them. And it's to listen to what people have been saying about travel and all that. Yeah, I mean, are we actually in the 21st century?
It often doesn't seem like it. It often seems like the rest of the world is charged on and we just stayed standing still. In much of the country, it kind of feels like that. You get outside London, which is where all the money is, it's and we can bleat on about how we're the 6th richest economy in the world and blah, blah, blah.
Which is a lie.
It might be true, but it doesn't benefit the nation. It doesn't benefit everybody that is on, is just struggling to get by, which is most of us, because all of the wealth is concentrated in the hands of a vanishingly few number of people in a tiny area of the country in the middle of London.
Yeah, I mean, I've obviously never lived in London. You probably know where they all live.
Well, they work in Belgravia, and they live in Belgravia as well. That's exactly where they live. Belgravia, Mayfair, Westminster, that's where they all live.
Oh, it's a nice area.
It is if you're a millionaire. If you're not, then please move along, sir. You're causing a disturbance.
It's not like Scotland Road in Liverpool, then.
I've not had the pleasure. I've been to Liverpool just lately around the dock there.
Yeah.
It was freezing cold.
Tate and Lyle factory was.
I didn't really take in much of it because I was too busy trying to stay alive from it being so cold. Yeah. Oh, I went to the Tate Museum, or the gallery rather. That's good.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't know much about Liverpool. Haven't really spent very much time there.
Well, the first let's see, Chinatown in Europe was in Liverpool.
Right.
The prototype for the Empire State Building was in Liverpool.
Which was that?
Don't know. I've never seen it. But the Empire State Building in New York, the prototype for that is in Liverpool.
Are you saying that they built us a tower that looks like it?
Yeah, before they built the Empire State Building.
Oh, well, where is it? Or does it not exist anymore? Oh, right, okay.
It might not exist anymore, but the first overhead railway in the world was built in Liverpool.
Huh.
And also the slavery links and all that kind of stuff.
All that stuff,
The headquarters of Confederates in the American Civil War were based in Liverpool in Europe.
Wow, this is becoming educational, no?
No.
I'll give it a rest now.
Yes.
I'll give it a break.
Yeah, way too many facts, John. You're overloading my brain.
Okay, then.
All right, thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. Was that what he wanted to talk about? I cruelly dismissed him. Maybe he had an actual topic. That was just the preamble. We'll never know. Ahmed texts, Kemi Badenough thanked The House magazine the other day for including her in the list of the top 100 women in Westminster. A quick look on the list, and I was surprised to see Cruella has also been included, so I'm not sure this is something that Badenough should be proud of. I'm kind of surprised that there are 100 women in Westminster. I mean, when I went there just recently, I don't recall seeing any. I mean, there were some like young things going around who were obviously, researchers or whatever. But I think women are a bit thin on the ground. They found 100 women in Westminster. Well, that's excellent going.
This is LBC with Nick Abbot.
Right, so what are we doing?
We are looking up the number of female MPs in the House of Commons, which I did during that break, and apparently there's 225 female MPs in the House of Commons. So for Kemi Badenough to get included on the list of the top 100 women in Parliament, then it's like a flip of a coin. It's like 1 out of 2 female MPs are on the top 100 list, more or less. And I would imagine that if you're a Minister of State, then you're automatically put on, regardless of how ineffectual and inept you are at your job. 0345 6060 973. Glasgow. Hello, Eric.
Nick.
Eric.
Nick, right. The freedom of movement. I'm studying a bit of freedom of movement with people geographically. Going back to your fears of transportation system and how the prices are.
Yes.
Well, our government and most governments in Europe, I believe, are trying to sort out a plan so they can keep people in the same place instead of them travelling, instead of them moving. And
what plan? What plan? They got a plan?
We have a plan.
They're trying. What they're emphasising and what we're really trying to do here is to keep people in the same place, so they live in the same place, they stay in the same place, they work in the same place.
Yeah.
Because we've got a lot of problems with the Middle East and people coming out of different countries and so on and so forth. So they're trying to encourage people to live and stay in the same place, so there's no all this carry on, Nick.
What carry on are you talking about that would be prevented by people staying and living and working in the same place?
Well, there wouldn't be any fear or any anxiety or any trouble or people worrying about getting blown up or getting murdered or getting assassinated or anything, or kidnapped or anything else is going on with a lot of people that's not from Europe.
Well, only if by staying in the same place you mean that everyone gets their own cell. Because regardless of where you happen to be, then people with bad intent will also be there. I mean, where else do they live other than everywhere?
It's more of a security measure, Nick. It's more of a security
And what plan are you talking about? Are you talking about 15-minute cities? Please say you're not talking about 15-minute cities. You are, aren't you? You are saying that, aren't you? You're talking about 15-minute cities, aren't you? Oh, my God. Okay. All right, got to go, Eric. Oh, my God. Right. Okay, let's get into that then, shall we? Because the government ordered a formal review of low-traffic neighbourhoods. Did you hear about this? You know, they've been bellyaching on about low-traffic neighbourhoods. They've been
whinging and whining and moaning.
Yeah. And the same thing with 15-minute cities. This is part of it. I'll get to that in a minute. But the government, under titchy suit size, ordered a formal review of low-traffic neighbourhood schemes because he was going to use green policies as a wedge issue with Labour and Keir Starmer. So Number 10 asked the Department for Transport to carry out a review of low-traffic neighbourhoods, with Titchy saying that Labour's policies were anti-motorist. You've heard that, right? And they thought that this is going to be a win for us because they narrowly squeaked a win in the Uxbridge by-election, helped in part by a lot of lies about the ultra-low emissions zone. You know, they spread about a lot of lies that said every single car in this area is going to get fined the moment you turn the key in the key in the thing. Whatever it's called. As soon as you start that motor up, people are going to descend on you and fine you to within an inch of your life. That's what they said, pretty much, there or thereabouts. And people freaked out and they voted Conservative because they didn't want that to happen. But no such thing was ever going to happen. So, because the Tories think that they won Uxbridge by a squeak because of disseminating fear about the ultra-low emission zone, the ULEZ, the Tories think that this is how they're going to win the next election. One of the reasons. This and, unisex toilets. So, Tichy Suit Size ordered a review. A review of low-traffic neighbourhoods, council-run schemes that were on the surface to promote walking and cycling, and they filtered some local streets so that cars couldn't access them and use them as rat runs. Now, these low-traffic neighbourhoods have existed in various forms for decades, and their expansion was heavily promoted by a certain Bodger Johnson.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
When he was the Prime Minister during COVID. Under his rule, these things popped up. But the Tories ignore all that and pretend it didn't happen under him and it was all Labour's fault. So he ordered an inquiry in order to give himself, Tichy, ammunition in order to take potshots at the Labour Party. An official study of low-traffic neighbourhoods ordered by Fishy Sunak, amid attempts to stop them, has reached a conclusion. Now, you might not have heard about this, unless you've read about it in The Guardian today. They were supposed to release this survey in January, and it was going to be released in a big fanfare saying, aha, I told you so, the Labour Party are the party that wants to fine you out of existence. They are anti-motorist, they're anti-car, and, they're Nazis, or words to that effect. And the reason that you haven't heard about that report is because it said the opposite of what they wanted it to. Their own Department for Transport produced a report using our money in order to gain political capital against Labour, and the report said the opposite of what Tichy hoped that it would, so he buried it. Isn't that totally Tory?
Yes.
Downing Street had hoped that the study would bolster their arguments against low-traffic neighbourhoods, which are mainly installed by Labour-run councils, but the report points the other way, so the government tried to keep it secret, while claiming that low-traffic neighbourhoods were hated when they aren't. The report was supposed to be out in January, but after its findings emerged, government ministers asked that it be permanently shelved. We were never to see it, despite the fact that we, poor dopes who pay taxes, paid for it. One government source said that the report would be published soon. Yeah, well, we're waiting. I mean, who to believe? A government stuffed with people who wouldn't recognise the truth if they fell over it in the street, or the action of that very government, which said that they did not bury a thing that was supposed to be out 2 months ago, but we've never seen hide nor hair of, because it came to the other conclusion. It came to the conclusion that they hoped it wouldn't, or assumed it wouldn't. So there's a copy of this report's been seen by The Guardian, and it said that polling carried out inside 4 low-traffic neighbourhoods for the Department for Transport found that overall, twice as many local people supported them as opposed them. Twice. And that is probably coming as a surprise to you, because the people that oppose them are so loud. And you have to wonder who these loud people are, why they are so vocal. Where does this supposed groundswell of disapproval come from? I mean, the oil companies and the petrostates are facing trillions of pounds of losses as we pivot away from petrol. Trillions, just unimaginable amounts of lost revenue. Numbers so big that if they were telephone numbers, they'd be international telephone numbers. And it would be in their interest to spread millions of pounds around trying to get the people against any and all measures that might affect the consumption of oil and gas. Spend $1 million, save $1 trillion. I mean, that's what's going on with every move that directly or even indirectly affects our consumption of fossil fuels. They say heat pumps don't work, solar panels ruin fields, wind power kills birds. Or so I've heard from a man who knows a lot about wind.
I know a lot about wind.
Yeah. 20-mile-an-hour zones, they cause pollution. Electric cars aren't reliable. Bus lanes cause jams. Shall I go on?
No.
No, all of these things. All of these measures that might affect our consumption of fossil fuels, you've probably read that they're a direct impingement on your freedom, and they don't work. I mean, here's another one. Low traffic neighbourhoods. I mean, we can't have them because everybody hates them. Say the reporters and the tweeters and the pub bores, all taking their cue from not experience, but from what's called astroturfing, where something looks like an organic grassroots movement, but has actually been paid for and propagated by billionaires who face losing a bit, just a bit, of the vast fortunes that they have, and who are counting on being insulated from the consequences of their actions, like climate change and pollution, by the wall of money that they have built around themselves. And a review of the evidence of the effectiveness of low-traffic neighbourhoods said that they did not support the contention of the opponents that low-traffic neighbourhoods simply displaced traffic to other streets rather than easing overall congestion. Because you've probably heard that too, right? Oh, it just, causes congestion on other streets. No. I mean, they were trying to prove it, and they couldn't. This is the government's own report, which they wanted to use as ammunition to beat the Labour Party up with. And it came to the opposite conclusion to that which they had hoped. And all this might come as a surprise because you've been pummeled by propaganda from the oil money that is trying to persuade us that we should keep doing the thing that consumes the most oil. Hey, wake up, sheeple. You're being manipulated. and not in a good way. The study also seems to dispel the argument that low-traffic neighbourhoods are deeply unpopular. Surveys of 1,800-plus residents in the 4 sample schemes in London, Birmingham, Wigan and York found twice as many people supported these schemes than opposed them. In each of the schemes, the percentage of people backing the low-traffic neighbourhoods was between 19 and 31 points higher than the percentage that opposed them. And get this, in a sign that the controversy about the schemes might largely be generated by politicians and the media, 58% of the people who lived in a low-traffic neighbourhood did not know that they lived in a low-traffic neighbourhood. So it's generated by politicians and the media who are simply following so-called think tanks and the opinion formers whose funding is deliberately secret for the very reason that the interests of the people with money do not coincide with us poor dopes who pay taxes. Remember that every time somebody from a think tank spouts off on TV. And the report is another blow to Titchy suit size in his attempt to attract votes by blocking schemes that encourage active travel. Set out in September in a plan for drivers, he promised to clamp down on low-traffic neighbourhoods and bus lanes and 20-mile-an-hour speed limits and moves to prevent councils from fining people for infractions. Opposing councils fining people for infractions, like speeding, travelling in a bus lane, and going down roads that have been closed off. So the government, central government, are now trying to undermine the policies of the twice-elected Mayor of London over a fabricated political fight for the purpose of trying to turn the Tories' polling around and using our money to do it. I mean, is this real life? In January, The Guardian revealed, and here comes the 15-minute cities part. In fact, you know what? I'm going to pause this and I'll do the 15-minute cities part after the news. God, it's just absolutely excruciating, the things that are going on. I can't believe it.
Nick Abbot on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Do you mind if I say a few words? Thank you.
Yeah, so as I was saying, Titchy Suit Size and the Conservative Party, they've got this plan for drivers because they think that that's going to turn their fortunes around, you know, appeal to drivers, kind of forgetting the part about when people stop their car and get out, they're not drivers anymore, they're pedestrians. You know, there is no such thing as a driver and a pedestrian. The two are the same person. But they forgot about that. And so as part of this plan, they're against 15-minute cities. And they're perpetuating this conspiracy theory nonsense that bloke that I last spoke to vomited up all over me. In January, The Guardian revealed that this Tory plan for drivers was guided in part by government worries, and I don't believe that they're worried at all. They just want us to be worried. Government worries about so-called 15-minute cities, an urban planning concept that has become the focus of conspiracy theories. And it doesn't matter how daft these theories are, if you read them enough on the World Wide Web, then even the brightest mind can become susceptible. Conspiracy theories, I bet, that were started by the same people who stand to lose if we use less petrol. I mean, it's farcical. A 15-minute city is where what you normally need, shops, GP surgery, sports facilities and so on, are in a 15-minute walk or cycle ride from home. In other words, a village. You'd think Tories would love a village, but they've hijacked the idea and turned it into the government telling you can't go outside your local area and restricting where you can travel and when, like that last bloke that I talked to believed. I mean, it's Looney Tunes stuff, but just enough people believe it to make fighting against it a vote winner. And so the fear of something that isn't going to happen becomes the thing that the Tories are fighting an election on. It's fake news. It's also, what would Donald Trump do? And so it is with low-traffic neighbourhoods, which are a common traffic management tool used for decades that stop motor vehicles from using smaller residential streets as cut-throughs, rat runs. And they became controversial after a large number were installed at speed, many in London, during the COVID lockdowns of 2020. I remember it well. It was an attempt to help people to travel around more safely and easily on bike or foot, brought in by Mr. Blobby. Ain't that right, Bodge?
I can't comment on that.
He was the most powerful man in the country at the time, if you can believe that. That is actually unbelievable, isn't it? This bloke...
The great big greedy nincompoop.
He was the Prime Minister of this country. Shocking. But somewhat less shocking than those who followed, eh?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah. So the Department for Transport report noted that where there had been problems, for example, with emergency services getting through these blocked-off streets, they tended to be when schemes had been rushed through or when they were brand new. And those issues eased over time. When people who were, driving ambulances and whatever, they got used to where they were going. Overall, the report said low-traffic neighbourhoods do not adversely affect response times for emergency vehicles. So you can strike that off your list of concerns. Critics of low-traffic neighbourhoods argue that they benefit people living inside them, largely by pushing traffic onto nearby roads. However, despite the fact that the Department for Transport were trying to make that true, their report said it's not true. The report said there appears to be limited evidence of adverse impacts on boundary roads, but residents are more likely than not to think that schemes have added traffic congestion and queues to nearby roads, probably because that's what they've been told to think. Newspapers pouring out this guff. The report found that there was some evidence of the schemes encouraging people to walk and cycle, as well as interim findings that low-traffic neighbourhoods tended to lead to a reduction in road danger and street crime, which all sounds positive to me. And so what did the government say about it? Did they admit that they had been wrong? No, of course not. They ignored everything in their own report, which we paid for, and they just doubled down on the lies that they've been peddling. A Department for Transport spokesmodel said, "We are clear," and at the moment that any of them say the word clear,
Warning, warning.
just disbelieve anything that comes after that word clear. The Prime Minister has been very clear that... Liar! They said, "We are clear that many local authorities have not put local residents first when implementing low-traffic neighbourhoods. We are backing motorists and will produce new guidance focused on the importance of securing strong local support." They have strong local support. Twice as many people support them as don't. But they're lying to us about a non-existent threat because that seems to be the plan, as much as they have one.
We have a plan, or you just go back to square one. That's why it's so important we stick to this plan, because we have a plan, we put that plan in place, where there is absolutely no plan. Right, we have got a plan, that plan is working. If we stick with it, we can deliver a brighter future for the country. But like my main message is plan, no plan.
No plan. 0345 6060 973. Let's have a call in Bristol. Hello, Ruby.
Nick, Mr. Nick,
Ruby.
I can't believe I am actually speaking to you after all these years of tuning in.
Oh.
And you're right, it's absolutely excruciating.
Isn't it?
Can you hear me?
No.
It's excruciating
Yes.
and agony.
I can't stand it anymore.
And I've been watching it for over 40 years, and you never think it can get any worse.
And then it does.
Just does.
Yeah.
And it does.
Mhm.
But I wanted to wind back, if you don't mind,
Yeah.
to James Bond,
Oh.
Cillian Murphy.
Is that how you pronounce it? Killian?
It is indeed, and I completely agree with you.
Shouldn't that be
No,
shouldn't that be a K though? Because CI
it's
isn't that soft? Right,
It's Irish.
Okay.
Tis Irish.
Okay.
And
Tis
speaking
it?
of Irish, have
Yes.
you seen? I love it when you go, R. There's an Indian action movie on Netflix called R.
Oh,
Have
somebody
you
told me.
seen it?
No, I haven't. But somebody told me about this. But I was a bit put off because it's got subtitles, right? I mean, I know that makes me
No.
sound like an idiot. Huh?
No, I don't think it has. I don't think I would have watched such a long film if it only had subtitles.
Oh, right. And is it just
I
the
mean-
letter R 3 times?
3 R's, yeah.
Right.
And it's absolutely hilarious. The CGI is incredible.
There's special defects.
Definitely special defects. There's a little bit of homoerotica in there, and there is some action, which you will be glad to hear.
Some. I thought it was. I thought it was an action movie.
Well, it is.
Right. Well,
But
is there not action from start to finish? Because if not, then you can count me out.
Yeah, but they don't all involve. The action doesn't involve cars.
Well, that's okay.
Tigers any good?
Tigers?
Action tigers.
Action
Yeah.
tigers. No, that'd have to be a no from me. No. Machinery. Better.
You've got to. No. It's the CGI is just gobsmacking. You've got to give it a try.
Well,
and,
all right then.
Are you not a fan of period dramas? I take it you haven't watched Peaky Blinders because
No.
Cillian Murphy and Tom Hardy were brilliant in Peaky Blinders.
I don't know. It looked like it looked like being dipped in misery to me, so I didn't watch it.
Well, yeah, I'm a Coen brothers fan.
Yeah, me too.
And
But they didn't have anything. They didn't have anything to do with that, did they?
No, but
Right.
I mean, Fargo
Yeah.
is pretty grisly, isn't it?
Well, I suppose so. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
It's black. It's definitely black.
Yeah, definitely.
But they've got a new one coming out.
Do they?
Yes.
What
and
is
I can't remember what it's called.
Okay,
Don't
well,
ask
certainly
me.
I'm glad you brought that up.
I also wanted to talk about Thwaites Glacier.
Yes.
I actually had a run-in with one of your other presenters who is no longer on LBC about, yes, the sea levels rising.
10
And I
feet. If that thing melts, the sea levels will rise worldwide 10 feet, which means all cities are kaput.
He went absolutely apoplectic when I said the rivers are going to run backwards. So the salt water is going to be running inland. And he completely lost his rag and said, where's my evidence? Which was quite hilarious. And and I said, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realise I was going to have to, produce
You were
scientific papers.
in court, yeah.
Yes, scientific papers. And so he was going, oh, there's such a thing as the internet, you know. So I got straight off the call with him, went straight on the internet. And, of course, if you just put sea level rises in, everything comes up, including our government.
Yes.
And so I got back on the phone to him.
And you didn't get through, I bet.
I got straight through.
You did?
And, he had to eat a little bit of humble pie.
I hope you gave him a piece of your mind, Ruby.
I was very polite. But I'm glad he's gone. But yeah, there is a belief that the Amazon, when it starts running backwards, is going to form an enormous sea in the middle of South America.
Well, I don't know about that. Well, we'll find out when we get there, I suppose. But what I do know with great confidence is that the lifestyle that we have fashioned for ourselves on this planet is based around the reliability of the water supply and the weather. And when those two things become unreliable, then chaos will ensue, the likes of which we have never seen before on this planet. World Wars I and II will seem like a storm in a teacup by comparison.
Absolutely.
And we could do something about it now, but we won't, because that would be long-term planning, and we don't do that as human beings.
Well,
we do short-termism is what we do.
Yes, we haven't done any long-term planning for as long as I've been watching politics.
No, exactly.
It's dreadful.
Yeah, as is your phone, as is this reception, Ruby. Your phone line is cracking up because you're calling me from within this country. If only you were calling from 3,000 miles away from a different country, then I'd be hearing every word you say. It'd be coming in clear as a bell. But sadly not. Thanks a lot. Good effort.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
Hang about, Nick. Listen. Now, what I'm trying to say to you is this, Nick, right?
Here is a call in Grimsby. William.
Nick, how you doing?
Good, thanks.
Is my signal okay?
Pardon?
Just want to check before you... Is the connection okay? Just want to check before...
No, it's terrible. Yeah? It sounds like you're talking through a sock.
Oh, okay. Is this better?
Yes.
Okay, good. Going back to these 15-minute city things, although I say I live in Grimsby, I live in a village just outside Walton, it's called, and you can go to most places within 15 minutes. Local school, doctors, pharmacy shop, whatever.
like a village. Yeah.
But you can also go outside the 15-minute zone and go into Grimsby if you want. So this idea that you're going to be... I know, it's... this idea that you're going to be controlled, it's ridiculous.
Yes, but they're trying to win by, on both sides of the Atlantic, they're trying to win by making people fearful of something that isn't going to happen. But if they keep telling you that it's going to happen, and I'm the only person who can protect you from this happening, then they think that is a way to garner more votes.
Yeah, I don't... It's weird as well, because the people who are saying it are often people who are conservative, probably want to go back to family, traditional values within a local community, and then they're saying it's a conspiracy.
Yes, it's so bizarre. I mean, all of these harumphing old geezers who you would think would absolutely love the idea of a village, because they keep harking on about, it was much better in during the war, when bombs were falling from the sky and we didn't have anything to eat, the good old days. And that's the thing that they cite is, cricket on the village green and warm beer and everybody knows everybody else in their street and all that stuff. Village life. Yeah. So that they're against it is just bizarre.
You say about everyone knowing everyone else. That's the problem of the village. You cannot walk out your house without speaking to someone. So when you're in a mood and you don't want to talk to anyone, you can't leave the house because you know everyone and you think, I can't go out for a walk because I'll bump into this person or this person.
Well, that's a positive and a negative of living in a village, because you live in the centre of a big city and you don't know anybody. You don't know your neighbours, you don't know the people above you or below you or over the street. But, I get that it would be a bit, you would feel constricted, a bit sort of hemmed in. But there's also pleasure in knowing who's around you.
Yeah.
Safety. Is Grimsby, I mean, no offence to the good people of Grimsby, but it doesn't sound very nice because the first syllable is grim.
Yeah, it was named after, apparently, so the Vikings, when they came here, the Viking longships went up the River Humber, and they named the town of Grimsby after Grim, a Viking, and Whitby after, I think, was another Viking guy, I think. But it's Grimsby. I mean, it needs a lot of well, you can point to the Conservative sort of austerity and things as to why it is how it is. But
yeah. I know, well, everywhere outside London, pretty much, that isn't Surrey. Yeah. The wealth has. I mean, they talk about levelling up. How's levelling up going, by the way?
Fabulous.
Yeah, that's what I thought. All right, thanks a lot, William. Say hello to a neighbour once in a while. You never know, you might like it. Sandra says, I am 66. I live in a tiny one-bedroom flat with my son. I do not have a garden. I hate not going out. I'm not rich. I'm not daft, and I don't vote Tory, so there. Sandra is a very angry person. And Simon says, money may not lead to happiness, but you can be miserable in comfort. Well, that is true, yeah. Money doesn't necessarily lead to happiness, but it's a happier position to be in, to be unhappy with money, than to be unhappy without money. Better to be happy in sitting on a cushion in warm comfort than be sitting on a cold floor with mould on the wall. That is true. Let's have Oldbury. Hello, Ranjit.
Hi, all right.
Yes, good, thanks.
Yeah, you know what? You know all the rich people that say that money doesn't make you happy, why don't they give it away?
Well, yeah, but not having any money would make you even less happy. Just because it doesn't make you happy doesn't mean to say they don't want any of it.
Yeah, and they keep still chasing and trying to make more money, don't they?
Bizarrely, I mean, I don't have any experience of having a lot of money, but it seems from my limited experience of reading about and understanding people who do, the more money you have, the more desperate you are to cling on to every last penny of it.
Yes, that's true. Right, what I want to talk about is Theresa May and her legacy.
Oh, Theresa May.
Right, you know what? You know when she was Home Secretary, right? She, the Windrush thing, yeah?
Yes.
People who have been here for about 50 or 60 years got children, great-grandchildren, weren't eligible to stay in this country and got deported to the West Indies, right? Yeah. So, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. Now everybody's all whinging about her, it's because she was a woman and she did this, that and the other, she was unfairly treated. Well, you tell that to the people whose grandparents or whatever, were living in fear here that they might get deported, yeah? What goes round comes round.
Well, I think that the sort of encomiums, the people who are praising her now that she's going, are perhaps just comparing her to what came next.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay, I'm not going to disagree with that point, yeah, but the thing is, Nick, right, at the end of the day, right, she was put in place just to keep the seat warm for Boris Johnson. I mean, that Andrea Leadsom said something about her not having children, then she ran out the race, and what's his name, Gove, ran out the race, and Boris Johnson just dropped out. So she became the accidental Prime Minister, yeah? Okay.
Seems like we've had a lot of that lately.
Yeah, we have, yeah. And then her advisors, yeah? This is what I don't understand. If you're made the Prime Minister of this great country, you should be able to make your decisions yourself without the advisors. So whoever advised her, right, to go running up like a little bimbo to go and see Donald Trump, yeah? And, be the first European leader. Hang on,
help him down that scary 2-foot ramp, yeah.
Yeah, right, discuss it with your companions, right? Should I go? Should I not? So she tried to, be the first one. And I say to her, serves her right. It's got nothing to do with her being a woman. It's just got to do with her self-ego.
Well, it's cringingly embarrassing that we prostrate ourselves in front of whoever happens to be the President of the United States of America and ask them ahead of time how high they would like us to jump.
If I was Prime Minister, I'd say, "Oi, mate, you come and visit me first, mate. And if you got no time, I'll see you and I can fit you in my diary."
Okay, well, I'll just note this down, make absolutely sure that Ranjit does not become the Prime Minister of this country, because I'm not sure that that's a very positive way to conduct yourself in your in this elevated position that you have surprisingly found yourself, Ranjit.
No, what I'm trying to say is, when she ran there, it was like a little child running to the teacher and taking him an apple.
In shoes that she could barely walk in, never mind about running.
Yeah, and then the other thing is, when she, that Abbot song, I watched it on the news yesterday,
painful,
right?
Painful. Worse than Peter Crouch.
It's absolutely stupid. The thing is, what's happening is, like this low traffic systems and that, right? These guys now, they've started shooting themselves in the foot now.
Yeah.
Right, the Tories. So everything they're doing is backfiring on them now.
I know. It's almost as though they're clueless and not very good at their jobs. Ranjit, I've got to go, because that's that music. The thing that gets me about Theresa May is she lives in Sonning, which is very, very posh, down by the river. It's where Yuri Spoonbender had a compound. Sonning is where the rich people live. You don't live in Sonning, Mrs M. You live in Woodley. Get over it. Different. 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global. Leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
You're joking. What's he got to be depressed about?
I mentioned Uzbekistan a little while ago because they are the only country on Earth that are full of people that are more miserable than we are. By one measure. By the other measure, we're more miserable than them. I think we are the most distressed, and they, by a tiny margin, are the ones that report mental unhappiness. Well, what other kind of happiness is there? Unhappiness. They are Unhappy. Joe texts, I've worked in Uzbekistan, challenging, but a very kind taxi driver took me to a bank to help me get cash. For me, not him. Very helpful. Not a word of English, but very kind people, says Joe. Well, that's a bit of a generalisation, Joe. You mean the person that helped you in the cab was kind? On that subject, Harley says, I've been to Uzbekistan a few times for work, albeit a few years ago. It's mostly a functioning country where things like public services work, but incomes are low, and it was a bit grim, and a police state where the reach of the secret police was long. However, since the death of the dictator Karimov, it's on the up, so the UK may well have competition for the bottom place. Yeah, can you believe that we came out worst of all the countries on Earth? God, can you hear that racket? You hear that?
Yup.
Blimey. I mean, we're talking in a building now that is stuffed full of radio studios, all of which have some sort of soundproofing. So they must have turned it up to 11 down there.
Rock and roll!
Oi! Keep that racket down. 0345 6060 973. Let's have Portland, Oregon. Okay, now keep in mind, this is 6,000 miles away. Let's see what the phone line is like. Jake.
Hey, Nick, how's it going?
See what I'm saying? It's like you're in the room with me.
That's bizarre, man. So I just wanted to call and talk to you about the 15-minute cities thing.
Yes.
There's a bar and a pharmacy and a grocery store and a gym and a dentist and restaurants and anything you could possibly need within 10 minutes walking of where I live.
Right.
And why is that a problem?
People think that because they have been told by men and women of evil intent who I imagine are using the money from the petro-states and the oil companies who are trying to get us to use more petrol, not less, that what the 15-minute cities is not just the ease of life, which is what you've just described. It is actually a prison that you cannot leave, which is just nonsense.
It's the opposite of the war on motorists, also, almost. I'd say it's like it's the war on pedestrians and people that don't need to own cars.
How do you mean?
Almost. Because, we're furious that you can walk to what you need to get to.
Yes.
Who decided that anyone was furious about that? I just, what?
Yeah, it's bizarre. If you just pause for a moment and think about what we're complaining about, it's just...
I can't wrap my head around it.
No.
I won't lose sleep over it, but what?
What? Yeah, exactly.
Cheers, Nick.
All right, thanks a lot, Jake. There you are. He's explaining it to us. Chrissy says, so you like movies for which you have to leave your brain in the foyer? Well, only up to a certain point, Chrissy. See, if I'm going to go to the films, or even if I'm going to sit and watch one on TV, I want to be entertained. Is that so very wrong? I do not want to be dipped in other people's misery, which is what a lot of British films are. It's like it's almost as though pleasure is forbidden, and so we have to, And so I can't remember what the guy's name is, but he makes about a film a year, and it's always about somebody who's on benefits, probably disabled, and they can't leave their house, and they've got mental health problems, and all the rest of it. And it might be a very worthy topic for a film, but I don't want to watch it. If I want to be dipped in misery, I'll go hang out at the bus stop. No, I want escapism. I want to be entertained. What's so very wrong about that? But not so... I don't like stupid films. So leaving my brain in the foyer is perhaps, is exaggerating a little bit there, Chrissy. I like... my favourite film of all time is Koyanis Skatsi, which is... it doesn't have any words. Words. God, hate words. It hasn't got any words. There's no actors or anything like that. It's just images set to the music of Philip Glass.
Groovy.
Exactly. My favourite film of all time. And then, Apocalypse Now and Terminator 2 and stuff like that, which are not leaving your brain in the foyer films, but they're entertaining. I don't want to sit there for 2 hours watching people talk about their feelings either. Thanks, but no thanks. Which is why I often run out of films and I find myself watching the same one again. Like, okay, Die Hard 4, all right. But in the absence of anything else, I'll watch that again, It's not a leaving your brain in the foyer film. That's those changing robot shape films. Stupid films for kids. I like stupid films for grown-ups. Let's have Ascot. Leo.
All right, man.
Leo.
How you doing?
Good, thanks.
Well, I just had a shift in a pub serving a lot of tourists, and 15-minute cities came up, and I bit my lip quite hard, and I'd like the chance to vent, if that's okay.
Yes, that's okay.
What the hell are they talking about? Like, my rule with conspiracies is, first of all, if it had to take more than 20 people to keep a secret, it doesn't exist, because 20 people cannot keep a secret.
Correct.
Second, follow the money. Like, if someone can profit off it, maybe there's something there. If not, then you're barking up the wrong tree. And it drives me insane, because normal, smart people fall for stuff like this. I mean, my dad's a geologist and a climate change denier, which is an interesting combination. But
he's a geologist and a climate change denier.
That's a tough one to go with.
Yeah.
Also voted for Liz Truss, which I do like to occasionally remind him of.
I wouldn't bring it up over dinner, though, Leo. I mean, because otherwise it will sour that meal.
Yeah, I know that from experience, sadly. But, yeah, the conspiracy theorist one, there's been a rise of them, and I think it's because the world is getting worse, generally, as capitalism fails. And owing to that, people want an explanation, and they want a simple explanation, and so they leap to conspiracy theories.
Yes, the simple explanation is exactly right. And I'm not sure that capitalism has failed. It's just that I'm not sure that that's what we've got now. I think this is a twisted form of capitalism, because capitalism used to be, if you work hard, then you will benefit from your work. But that's not what's happening anymore. You work
that's
hard.
The slogan.
Yeah, you work hard, and somebody else benefits from the work of everybody. All of the money drains not down. It's not trickle down economics. It's trickle up from the many to the few.
Yeah, Gary Stevenson's, Yaris Varoufakis, they're both excellent on this and kind of explaining it, I think. Definitely a watch for people out there. And also, because it's your show and, there's no theme and everything's completely unrelated, I'd like to volunteer my opinion that The Beekeeper, starring Jason Statham, is the greatest movie of all time. And everyone should watch it. It is the perfect adult, stupid movie, but with Jason Statham holding it together, giving he's playing a car accident, Shakespearean, completely serious, never giving a hint of irony. And it just kind of works.
Well, I tell you what does work with Jason Statham in it. It's a film called Spy. Have you ever seen that?
Oh, is that the Melissa McCarthy
Yes,
one?
it is.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
I mean, his best work's The Meg 2, surely. That was a phenomenal piece of cinema. In one scene, a woman who is at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, her helmet cracks and she completely implodes. And in the very next scene, Jason Statham free swims at the bottom of this trench with no issue whatsoever. But because it's Jason Statham, you completely believe it.
Well, I think you just ruined it for us there, Leo. You should have said spoiler alert.
The Meg 2.
The Meg 2, right.
The Meg 2, trust me, that is the least of the twists in that Kafkaesque nightmare of a movie.
OK, well, you're not selling it to me. Kafkaesque it is now. I think you need to change the bar you work in, by the way, Leo. You're going to have to leave Ascot, most probably, in order to get away from Tory bores at the bar.
Yeah, well, I'm a socialist and a law student, so I just love arguing, sadly.
See, that's not going to be very good for your, I hesitate to use this phrase, but mental health. It's not going to be very good for your...
I did notice you segued from talking about unhappiness in the UK to my call, which I thought was quite prescient, I guess.
Yes, it's apropos of you, yeah. All right, thanks a lot, Leo. 0345 6060 973. Biting his tongue. Doesn't want to get into any arguments with the people on the bar, particularly as he's behind the bar, and they're the ones that are, showering him with cash. How much for a pint?
What?
I wonder if anybody has paid more for a pint than I have. 11 pounds. 11. Mind you, that did include service charge. Even though I went to the bar, ordered it with my own mouth, and carried it back to my own table using my hands. And they still charged me a service charge. £11 for a pint. Anyway, but you know me, I never complain.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
Leading Britain's conversation. Nick Abbott. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
I am not one of your fans!
Adrian says, I wouldn't worry about the internet and social media. It'll never catch on. Well, that is a fact. Chris says, 2 things I got. My voter ID and two things. Maybe there should be a stop after that, or a semi, or a colon, perhaps. Can I interest you in a colon, Chris?
No.
He says, 2 things. I got my voter ID and I have scuppered their little scheme. He says, I also got a letter from my local water company and they've had a cyber attack and my personal data has been stolen. What a country. Right. They delivered you hot sewage in a river or beach near you, and they've given away your personal data to some crim. Spence says, did you see the clip of the wee woman in Wales who got entangled on a rising shop shutter and got foisted sky high? Yes, I did, yeah. Unlike our taxes, the wee woman eventually came back down. Yeah. That was amusing, yeah. Regent's Park. Hello, Vince.
Hello, Nick. How are you?
Not Vince, you're Vance.
Vance,
yes.
That's right. How are you, Nick?
I am great, mate.
Great. I love your show.
Thanks.
You. Nick, I read the Guardian report on the polling about low traffic neighbourhoods.
Oh, yes.
And I want to make just 2 comments, if I may. First, Labour lost the Uxbridge by-election by a mere 500 votes. In other words, if just 251 people who voted Tory had instead voted Labour, then Fishy wouldn't have had a leg to stand on to complain about the Green policy.
Right.
It was statistically insignificant, and Fishy, who's a mathematician, knew it.
Yes, and the thing that irks me, the thing that irks me is that I went to Uxbridge to go to university. I went to Brunel University in Uxbridge, and I know, without looking it up, that the students of Uxbridge could not be bothered to go and register their vote on that day. Either that, or they carefully positioned the date of the vote so that students would not be there.
Yeah, quite likely, yeah. And the second point, if I may, such behaviour by him, combined with the noises of people like Badenoch and Gove, when they warn us that there might be extremists amongst the demonstrators, against the Gaza war. I mean, they are oblivious to their own extremism.
I don't think they are. I think they know exactly what they're doing. It's worse than you're describing. It's cynical.
It's cynical. They're not only extremists themselves, but they're vandals, Nick, and we have to call them out loud and clear, don't you think?
Well, I do, yeah. I mean, I do.
Good. Great. That's all I wanted to say.
All right, it sounds like you said it. Excellent work. Thanks a lot, Vance. Yes, Led by Donkeys did this video, which is well worth watching and describes in some detail that when they talk about mob rule, they are the mob. Our government, our current government, is the mob, and the mob is who they support. It's just that it's a particular type of mob that they like. Now, it doesn't really matter how violent they are and how much they hold up traffic or whether they storm the Palace of Westminster itself. As long as they are protesting about something that the regime approves of, then that is a mob that's okay by them. So, I could go through it, or I could just direct you to their video. If you follow me on Twitter, I think I retweeted it today. It's well worth watching. It's about 6 minutes long, and it's 6 minutes at the end of which you'll probably be more furious than you were at the start, but it is worth watching, just to put everything in perspective. 0345 6060 973. Camden. Hello, Claire.
Hi, Nick.
Claire.
I'd like to take part in your raffle about why did he take this job at all, having in mind that he has so much money.
So much money, yeah.
And my theory is that besides the numerous easy contracts he can get, it's also because of the free guards he gets for life, I think.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised, right? But maybe he took the position of the Prime Minister of this country because he's a patriot and he really loves this country. He just wants the best for you and me, Claire, and he's working night and day. That's his plan, and the plan is working, and we must stick with the plan, otherwise it's back to square one with the Labour Party. Don't forget that.
Yeah. So he loves me and you, and we are about a billion places behind his first love or something.
You lost me at the end there, but yes.
I mean,
whatever you just said.
He must love himself.
Right. Well, precious few people outside of himself loves himself. I know that that's true. Yeah.
So my humble me must be about 7 billion behind the first one.
Right. You're at the bottom of the list, Claire. There's no doubt about that. You're at the end of the queue.
Maybe beneath the bottom.
No, you can't be beneath the bottom. You can be at the bottom, but not beneath it. There is no beneath.
I'd like to comment also about the behavior of the camera when this man was reading the so-called budget.
Are you talking about David Cameron?
No, the camera which was looking at, pretending to look at the man reading the budget.
Right.
But in fact, the more interesting spectacle was behind the man reading the budget, because I happened to be able to see this, and so the man was reading the budget. He's at the front.
Yeah.
And behind him was sitting Fishy. Maybe this is the place where the PM sits maybe this is the place where the PM should sit. But in fact, it was very interesting to watch was when the man started reading about the non-doms.
Yeah.
And it was interesting to watch Fish's reaction.
Right.
I don't know if you watched this.
No.
But Fish started. He started
shifting about in his seat, smirking. Right, smirking. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
And to me, his smirk was saying,
"We ain't going to get none of my money." Yeah.
Yeah. This is how you decided to get at me, but I have some other tricks up my sleeve.
No, I think they're in cahoots rather than in competition with each other. I think that you're talking about Jeremy Hunt and Titchy Suit Size. They are they're not not competitors. They're in cahoots, if you can believe that, Claire.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah.
But in general, people or humanoids who have so much money, why do they want any more?
I don't know. I think it's like a sickness, and it's almost like you know, when people collect things, there is no such thing as enough. You know, you collect gummy bears or watches or whatever it is, or tattoos, and there is no such thing as enough. You always want more. And I think it's maybe it's a human trait, but if you've got a boatload of money, it's never enough, regardless of how. I bet Elon Musk is upset every now and again when one of the other trillionaires overtakes him just because his shares have gone down because he said something stupid, or he smoked some dope on a podcast or whatever, and his investors fled for the door. So there is no such thing as enough for these people. It's just bizarre. But I think it is a sickness that infects you when you get a large amount of money and you don't need to worry about the cost of things anymore. You just need to worry about how much you've got compared to your mate who's just parked his boat in front of your sunset.
But even if they were eating literally these banknotes, it's more than enough to give them sickness, stomach sickness.
Right. Yeah. They if they stayed up all night long with a credit card on the phone buying islands, they would not get through all of the money that they've got. So why they are desperate to acquire and hoard ever larger amounts of it is a mystery to me, and it is to you. And I suppose we'll never know, Claire, because we will never be those people.
I'm not vying for billions in any case.
Right. Okay. Well, that's good, because you probably won't get them. And unless you were born rich, it's vanishingly unlikely you will become rich. Thanks a lot, Claire. 0345 6060 973. Christopher says, just watching AC/DC live at River Plate for the dozenth time. It's available on the World Wide Web, by the way, kids. It's on YouTube. And if you haven't seen it, it is astonishing. AC/DC live at River Plate. He says, the Argentinian audience are almost as joyful and happy as British citizens. Who I believe are the second most miserable on the planet, says Christopher. We're even more miserable than the Ukrainians, who have rootin' tootin' shootin' Putin bearing down on them. The Tories must be so proud. Exactly, yeah. Well, the plan is working, and we must stick to the plan, because this is the plan, apparently. I didn't vote for this plan. You didn't vote for this plan either, but they foisted it upon us anyway. Ollie says, this is all in capital letters like he's shouting at me. Say what you like about Brexit, we haven't had the bubonic plague yet, have we? Well, there you go then. Hasn't been that bad. They used to have the plague, you know. Brexit's cured us all. Well, that's a good point. Yeah, we're not all dead yet, so Brexit has been a tremendous success. Because, you know, the Ramonas said that everyone was going to die and this country was going to burst into flames and flip upside down. And that hasn't happened. Ravi says, Kemi is also arguing that trade talks are still on with Canada, but the Canadians have said that the British walked away from the talks, so who to believe? Yeah, who to believe? I've made my mind up. How about you? You believe that? Oh, yeah, I'm discussing with the Canadians. We're deep into trade talks with the Canadians, and the Canadians are saying, who? Who? Kemi, who? Paul, apropos of nothing, texts, the general public do not want them back in this country. Them? Who's them? They have publicly insulted the royal family. Oh, them. Made a fortune on Netflix. They should be completely stripped of using these Sussex titles. I live in Sussex. We don't want them. They're evil, conniving couple. Bar them from this country. Some of those words were spelt right, but not many. I don't know. I mean, if it's a competition between the dysfunctional family that is the royals that we have left, the sort of rump, the nub of the family that we've got left here, and Hazza and Sparkles, I think I'm on Team Hazza. I mean, Andy is vying to be the leader of the gang again, and that's a big no from me. 0345 6060 973. Oh, blimey, look. Already? God. Where has the time gone?
Nick Abbott. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Here are the studio calls flashing up on the indicator.
Yes, let's pick one at random, shall we? How about this one? Maidstone. Hello, Rob.
Hello, Nick. So, have you seen the Tories' latest wizard wheeze with national insurance?
God, what now?
Well, because they want to get rid of it.
Oh,
yeah, right. But the wonderful thing about that is they don't say is that you'll get 12p back, but all the employers will save 12% on the payroll bill because they won't have to pay their bit of it.
There's absolutely no way that any of the above is going to happen.
Well, I don't think so either. But the even better bit is, if you're a low-paid worker in receipt of universal credit, even the present cuts they're doing, you will lose the money you could have been getting, pound for pound, off your universal credit. And then their idea to balance the books is to punish sick people, because we've got too many of them,
yes,
by cutting benefits.
Well, that makes that makes perfect sense. It's actually just what Jesus would want.
Well, you know what? I'm just thinking, if they cut my benefits anymore, I'm sure it's really going to encourage me to go and do something stupid, like get a really high-paying job. I would if I could.
That's right. All you need to do is to get a job as a banker and then make £100 million, Rob. It's as simple as that.
And do you know what? If my parents had both worked for, had been a pharmacist and a doctor and got me into a really good public school, maybe I could have gone and worked for a disaster capitalist company and made me first 100 million before I reached 40.
Yes, exactly right. Yes, it's just laziness on your part that you haven't done that yet.
Yeah, that and being disabled. I mean, that's never very good because I don't look good in a business suit, obviously.
Right. Well, there you go then. You've counted yourself out deliberately, Rob.
Oh, damn.
Thanks for that. 0345 6060 973. Laura texts, we will all be on dinghies if that doomsday iceberg melts. The government will be in submarines. Yeah, they'll build a big, beautiful wall around mountains and be occupying it and greeting anybody that tries to climb up it with great vengeance. Harry says, there's loads of Harry and Meghan hate in the papers this week. Is there about to be another court case? I don't know. Have all the court cases finished now, or are they still going on? He says, I wonder if any of these papers realise what they're doing to the UK's reputation abroad. It looks like the UK has just gone as collectively insane as the USA. It's almost, I mean, the obsession with Harry and Meghan, particularly Meghan, does border on weird. The press. Until you think they're just doing it for money. That is exactly what they're doing. They don't care. They're just doing it for money. And the reason that they keep writing those stories over and over is because people keep clicking on them. They know what stories that you clicked on. They get the analytics back on a daily basis, I bet. And so they know that if they put a story up there about, here's Meghan Markle smiling while the King's ill, or something stupid like that, people will click on it. Because they've been almost brainwashed, programmed to hate her too. And it's like the Princess Di thing in reverse, but the result is the same. If you put a story about Hazard and Sparkles in your paper, then it will sell more copies. It will get more eyes on the stories on the internet. But it's not because you love them, like we did with Princess Di, it's because you hate them. Because that's what, that's the message that comes every day. It's just hate, hate, hate. And so the it of it is that they're doing it for money. How despicable is that? James says, he's just trying to be helpful, is James. He says, my bedroom curtains only cost £250 and have blackout linings. I'll put them into one of the 30 charity recycling bags gathering dust in my hallway and hope that they can be used to cover some of the Thwaite Glacier until such time as the world's government raise the other £49,999,999,750. In the event of any mathematical errors, please contact Diane Abbott. Yeah, or Zaphod.
And 1, 2, 2,
3,
6 million.
No. Osaka, Japan. Hello, John.
Hi, Nick. How you doing?
Yes, good, thanks. You see what I'm saying? How many miles away are you? Like 6,000 miles, something like that. And it's like you're talking to me in the room.
Yeah, that's a relief, because I changed my phone actually last week, because I was a bit worried that might have changed, but I'm glad it seems to be still okay.
It's amazing. Is it a mobile or is it landline?
Yeah, it's a mobile, yeah.
A mobile. Can you believe it?
I
don't understand it, because when you get to when the signal gets here, then you're not beamed in from space, are you? You're sent by relay. So you're using our infrastructure. It's just that if the call comes from outside the country, it's perfect. Inside the country, can't hear a word.
Oh, yeah, maybe, I don't know, they're trying to show our infrastructure to be good to foreign countries to make a good impression, or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, when the Olympics came, the Olympics winner comes to Japan, there was a move to remove all the dirty magazines from the shelves from convenience stores, because it would make Japan look bad to all the foreign visitors. And so then they did that. But then Corona came, and then the people didn't actually come. So everyone was like, oh, no, what do we do that for? No, we can't get our magazines.
Right. Well, you wait till they find the internet.
Yeah, they'll find it one day. Yeah. Other callers have said it pretty well about how ridiculous this war against 15-minute cities is.
Yeah.
But I thought I'd just ring up to try and underscore it a bit.
Okay.
Because it doesn't just seem ridiculous, it seems like actually an assault on reality.
Yes, exactly.
Well,
fake news.
Or rather, because it seems to be going against what Tories seem to love, these market forces, yeah? Because if you go to any estate agent and you look at what properties they've got available, with certain things, as it increases, or the price goes up, right? So more square foot of space, it's going to be more expensive.
Yeah.
And then, in the same way, distance to the nearest train station, it gets more expensive as well. And distance to nearest school, distance to the nearest supermarket, all these things, it gets more expensive. So those are objectively, or you could at least defined by market forces, which seems to be the most pure, expression of reason or logic. This 15-minute city seems to just be kind of be a good thing.
It's it's how human beings have always wanted to live. I mean, exactly. we don't really want to live in mega cities of 15 million people. I mean that comes with problems. It also has benefits, but our comfort zone is in a place where you can get everything that you need in life pretty much within 15 minutes of walking and cycling. A village. It's how we grew up as a species. You'd think the Tories would love it, but they've twisted it into something that's not like a village. It's more like an open prison. That's how they're describing it, isn't it? It's not that it's convenient. It's that you will not be allowed to leave. That's the twist that they put on it.
Yeah, it's like, I think it's really crossed the line this time. It reminds me of, I haven't read that many books, but I've read 1984, and they've got this thing, doublespeak, where it's like good means bad, and so on. It's getting quite close to actually being that, I think.
Mind you, in the hip-hop community, bad does mean good, or at least it used to.
Oh, yeah, that's well sick and that kind of thing. It means good. Exactly.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's okay. That's...
Yeah. Okay, is that it? Excellent work.
I've got another point if I'm
Go ahead.
Still on. It's a bit unrelated and a bit more flippant, but where's all the LBC merch, by the way?
Merch?
Because LBC is like it's this media thing that has podcasts and all that, right?
Yeah.
And I listen to other podcasts. I've got this. Mark Kermode does his film reviews and stuff, and Adam Buxton, and so on and so on. And I've noticed they all have merch. You're listening to their podcast, and they're like, "Oh yeah, also, can you buy a T-shirt with the name of this podcast on it?"
Right.
And then
why would anybody want to do that?
Yeah, exactly. LBC seems to be this big brand, and you've got the catchy theme tune, dun dun dun. I thought, you know what, it'd be funny if I got an LBC T-shirt and I started wearing that around Osaka.
Yeah.
And maybe if there's a few Brits on holiday and they see a guy around
there's
an
one.
LBC T-shirt, that might make them go, huh? And that would bring me some small amount of amusement.
Well, that is not a bad idea, and I'll pass it on.
Yeah, we've got catchphrases. You've got Nick Ferrari and James O'Brien do their zingers. You could have a picture of Diane Abbott or whoever Nick Ferrari's zinged that week, and and they could have it said, "You just got run over by the Nick Ferrari" or something like that.
Right.
I don't know, just a few ideas.
Oh, he's just throwing them out there. It sounds like money to me.
Well, I mean, other podcasts and stuff, which to me don't seem to really merit having a bunch of merchandise have it in. I think at least LBC should look into it.
Well,
there you go.
I'll certainly pass that message on. All right, excellent work there. Thanks, John. I'm definitely not going to pass that message on. They'll think I'm an idiot. You think we haven't thought of that before, you moron, they'll say. Moron? How dare you? Martin says, in Sunak's Downing Street speech, Sunak was seeking to gain advantage through fomenting fear, increasing division and toxifying the atmosphere to justify trampling all over democratic norms. It sounded very much like, what would Donald Trump do?
Don't be rude.
Andy says, I read an 18-year-old nicked a Ferrari at today's F1 Grand Prix and embarrassed the multi-million-pound drivers by coming 7th. I think I got that right. My eyesight is not what it used to be, says Andy. Yeah, some kid has just started driving at F1. I could not be less interested. I just don't care. Around and around and around they go, and nothing ever happens. I cannot imagine why it's so popular. It sounds terrible for a start. I was discussing this with Carol McGiffin just the other day on our podcast.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, for full details, you can find our podcast on Global Player. It's called What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol? Now, if you've got like 45 minutes twice a week and you wish to be amused, then it'll be right up your alley because it comes out on a Monday and a Friday. It's called What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol? And the idea is that we solve people's problems. Now, if you have a dilemma that you wish us to solve, send it to the following address, nickandcarol@global.com. That's NICKANDCAROL @global.com, and prepare for total satisfaction. Ask for it by name on an internet near you. What's your problem with Nick and Carol?
Oh, right, yeah.
I've got to go away because if I don't, I won't be able to come back.
This is LBC with Nick Abbot. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
Come on, we're running late.
We are running late. 0345 6060 973. Let's have, now let me see. Who's been waiting the longest? I'll be totally fair about this. Tooting. Hello, Jan.
Hi, good evening.
Yes,
Nick.
Jan.
Yeah, so I think I may just I was going to mention two different things.
A couple of things, yes.
Yeah, about this about the Barbenheimer and how there's another film coming. I'll go quickly because there's an interesting thing about the icebergs. Towing icebergs.
Right, you've mentioned about 10 things already.
No, I know.
Pick one.
I come back to the film because it's like I haven't seen them yet, but I want to see them. This Barbenheimer, there's another film that's coming.
What is it?
It's called The Zone of Interest, and it's a portrait of it involves it's a study of the commander of Auschwitz and his wife.
Oh, are you kidding me? No.
No, I'm just saying it's just like these two films that with Oppenheimer.
Yeah, Oppenheimer is like 3 hours I'll never get back. It was just tedious to the max. Yes.
Oh, did you say? No, I haven't seen them yet, but I just think it's like the shadow of
3 hours of 3 hours of a close up of Cillian Murphy's face. It was just weird. Yeah, no.
Oh, all right. I'll leave that alone. I'll come on to something that's a bit more.
Barbie, on the other hand, was fun. I enjoyed it, much to my surprise.
Oh well, yeah. I want to see Barbie.
Well, don't want, Jan. Do.
Yeah, I will. But listen, Nick. Something is interesting. You're talking about the Arctic.
Antarctic. Yeah, the Thwaites Glacier, the Doomsday Glacier. Yes.
Yeah, but there's something very more uplifting about. Well, not more uplifting, but a way and say how icebergs are being towed to warmer climates to harvest them for drinking water, which I think
they're not.
Yes, they are.
I seriously doubt that. But by the time they get there, they'll have melted, for crying out loud.
No. There's a man in Canada, the Canadian islands, where they're in New Zealand, Soundland. There's a man called Ed Keane. He tows away icebergs. He's been doing it for 30 years, and he produces more than 1 million litres of water and sells it to local businesses. And there's quite a bit of it going on. Towing icebergs, it seems a bit.
Well, that seems like a very bad idea.
No, but it's not, because they say, look, the UN predicts that by 2030, half the world's population will face severe water shortages.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
we're going to have to drink icebergs.
2/3 of that water is locked away in ice caps and glaciers.
Right. Yeah, but if you release it, then the water level will rise 10 feet if that glacier melts.
No, they're not releasing it.
Well, of course they are. What happens when you drink? It tends to come out the other end.
No. These people who are doing it, it's they're harvesting.
Yeah, I know, for drinking water. Yeah, but if you take an iceberg off land and you harvest it in any way, shape or form, then it's going to create water in the atmosphere eventually, because it will dissipate Don't know me, Jan. How can they keep it? If you're going to drink it, it's gone already.
No, here's it. The iceberg wranglers. There's at least they're towing icebergs. It's in the news.
Yeah, I know. Okay, all right. Well, I want you to give me a full report on my desk first thing in the morning. Towing iceberg wranglers, you say? All right. Thanks a lot, Jan. got to go, because, just got to go. On the same subject, a Manford. John, where's a Manford, John?
Ammanford, if you look towards the southwest corner of the Brecon Beacons.
Ah, well, it sounds a delight.
Great countryside. I was in architecture school there 30 years ago, and we had a nice guy come down from Oxford. It was all about climate change and the damage architects did to the climate. And one of the things he told us was, if we didn't fix things by 2025, it'd be too late, because all the methane in the tundra in Siberia would start to be released.
That's
and
right.
So the timber up there, and the Russians are keeping quiet that they can't control the fires every summer.
Yep.
And that methane will accelerate global warming, and it's a tipping point.
Tipping point is the key phrase there, yes. Once we get to the tipping point, then that's it, game's over.
But the rich are running away with all the money as fast as they can, like Dr. Strangelove. You see, they'll all have somewhere to go. And
like Don't Look Up. There's a film on Netflix called Don't Look Up, and it's a dystopian comedy about what's happening right now. People are trying to dismiss reality and kid on that it's not going to happen because whatever comes from it won't affect them personally, and there is no amount of money on earth that can protect you from a 10 feet rise in the level of the seas. It can't. I mean, you could get yourself on a boat, but eventually you're going to have to dock. And where are you going to dock? The docks will be underwater. I've got to press on, John, because I think it would be rude for me to not take at least as many of these calls as I can, if somewhat briefly. Huddersfield. Hello, David.
Good evening, Nick.
Yes,
the other week you were talking about your admiration for James Mason.
I was.
Which is non-existent. Anyway, from Huddersfield. Now, you may not know this. You're talking about the centralisation of money down to London. In Huddersfield, per head of the population in the 70s, there were more Rolls Royces than there were in London.
Per head of population. Why? Where was the money in Huddersfield?
Because I'll tell you, our textile industry, which then was farmed abroad and disappeared altogether.
Right.
So this idea of 15-minute cities could actually stimulate the economy and generate local interest in businesses that are local to certain areas.
Of course, yes. It's like when people say, well, we have to get everybody back in the office because the local coffee shop and the shop sells suits is going out of business around where central offices are. Well, who cares? Because people are spending their money where they live, locally, better.
Even now, we've got a thriving a major textile business, even still here, inspired by the history of the area.
Is that a fact?
Just one thing
what kind of thing do they make?
Suits, shirts.
Oh.
Yeah, we used to make fine worsteds, you see, which was, if you looked on, I know you won't do it, but if you did, our railway station looks like a stately home. Does it? Right. Yeah, and the square that it's in, which was our showpiece, a bit like the Halifax Peace Hall, which was also for selling cloth,
right,
is a showpiece for the town.
Huh.
And there you go. So there was also the Rolls-Royce question. There was a Rolls-Royce dealership here.
Huh.
And you wouldn't believe it today. You think it's all in your neck of the woods.
I'm making the noise like, a lot, because all this is coming as new information. This show, finally, it took 3 hours, but eventually it became educational, yes?
No.
A little bit.
Absolutely.
A little bit, yeah.
Can I mention Rula Lenska before I go?
Yes?
Her mother was a countess. Look it up.
I most certainly will do nothing of the sort, David. But thanks for the advice. 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 But thanks for the advice.